Morning, everybody. We're just a little bit past 10 o'clock, so we'll start. Just a few reminders. You can switch your mobile phones to silent. There are members of the public and press attending this meeting virtually. So can I ask those attending virtually to switch off your microphone to avoid any disruption during the meeting? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you wanted to introduce your motion. So obviously you need to switch on your microphone for that.
Okay, thank you.
No fire alarm planned, so even if fire alarm, please probably leave the building. I think the car park is not inside. Okay, I'll move into the meeting. Apologies for absence, please.
Chair, received apologies from councillors Caroline Lever and Williams, and councillor Maskell joining the meeting virtually, Chair.
Any other apologies?
Apologies from councillor Biederman as well.
Others? Can we accept those apologies? All those in favour of accepting the apologies? You. Minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of May 2026, pages 7 to 12. Anybody got any comments? Can I just raise page 10? This is referring to the item where Councillor Lever and myself had to leave. It says a working group that to consider other expressions of interest. This is on the assets on an ongoing basis. Can I ask what's happened about that? Has anything happened? And what's going on? So we do
Yeah, we'll have a look at that because other than the next tranche of documents or next tranche of assets, we haven't had any other expressions of interest, which is referred to in there.
Right. But I thought there was going to be a working group that was set up to look at possible.
Yeah, so we had the expressions of interest in towns and parishes, which you considered at the meeting. The priority ones obviously were coming forward and they're being worked on with the team in terms of engaging with towns and parishes with their heads of terms. The next tranche, which were the yes to transfer but not priority cases at this stage, then obviously be the next ones for consideration. I think that's where you were talking about this working group, then taking a look at those.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't.
You weren't in the room, sorry. We're on the
through.
looking at the next tranche. So at the moment, we haven't set that working group up. We're still working on the priority ones that will be transferred. We obviously then will start to look at the non-priority ones where members considered for those to be transferred at a later stage. That's when the working group would need to be set up in order to have a look at those. Don't think it was to look at any further expressions of interest, because as Ken says, we haven't had any further ones come forwards. This is to look at that phase 2 of the non-priority ones where members considered a yes. That's obviously still to be pulled together.
Are we happy with that? Thank you. All in favour of those minutes? Thank you. Item 3. I think Councillor Wilkinson wants a few minutes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wonder whether it's appropriate that we should send our condolences to the family and well, the immediate family of the person who sadly lost his life in Ilfracombe Harbour last week, and to also express our sincere thanks to the Harbour Master, Georgia Carlo Pat, for her sensitive handling of the situation.
Yeah, thank you, councillor Woodson.
If that's a motion, I'd certainly second it.
Was that to actually send
Yes,
the
it
card?
was, yes.
Yeah. All those in favour of that? Thank you. Declaration of interest. Any declaration of interest, please?
I've received none, Chair.
Okay, read the agenda between part A and part B. There's only one in part B. So we'll move straight into part A, which is the notice of motion that was put forward by Councillor Maskell that got deferred, and it's now come for our consideration. I know John wants to speak on this, John Triggs. I'm going to ask Councillor Prue Maskell just to go over this and introduce it, and then we can move to discussion. Councillor Maskell.
Thank you. I won't turn my camera on because we're actually travelling in the car and it's not a great view. I apologise, I'm not there again this week. My husband's got an operation today and we're just travelling up there now, so it's not, the timing's not been great for me. So I won't go through my motion again. I think I read it out and we were all aware of it, but it was to try and address the balance between food and energy security in the country. As I mentioned, we only produce 30% of the food that we eat, and we are increasingly seeing large swathes of farmland giving over to solar power in North Devon. I hope that the Joint Planning Committee looked at the motion and considered the impact of future solar applications carefully. I believe that as a local authority, we have an opportunity to lead the way in delivering solar projects on rooftops, car parks and industrial estates, and whilst doing so, create opportunities for local businesses to do the same. The council has already expressed a desire to put solar panels on the roof of Green Lanes car park. We could go further and put solar carports on all of our car parks, potentially creating revenue by selling electricity produced to local businesses. We could also install solar carports with EV points to sell energy for car charging. There are companies who will deliver solar funded so that the business gets the eco benefits and a significant reduction in energy costs through power purchasing agreements. They benefit from reduced and predictable energy costs and improve ESG credentials without the capital investment or maintenance costs. North Devon Hospice is an example of a local company which has installed solar carports across its car parks using a local company called Eden Sustainable. This will save them £15,000 a year in energy costs and allow them to sell electricity via their EV chargers. This is an opportunity for us to lead the way. We could also create the opportunities for other local businesses to follow by making the planning process simpler and linking them up with companies such as Eden or similar companies who could make projects affordable and even profitable. And I would also like us to write to government and our MP and tell them what we are doing as a local authority, how we are leading the way, and ask them to commit to doing the same at a national level. Urge them to review their politically based energy strategies and put more funding into these types of projects so that small businesses can also get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maskell. I think John wants to say a few words on before debate or.
That's okay, please, Chair. Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Maskell. In terms of funding opportunities available, we are working closely with South West Net Zero Hub because they're collating a number of potential projects for local authorities because we're expecting some funding to be announced through Great British Energy around renewable energy on local authority buildings. So we're pulling together those projects alongside the previous reports that you've received here from Donna, our climate officer. Green Lanes is one of those, as well as obviously potentially looking at PVs here at Brinsworthy, Pannier Market, Buttergate, the Tarka Leisure Centre, the Tennis Centre, and also looking at solar on our car parks and the opportunities there as well. Obviously, not all of our car parks would be appropriate for having the covers, but obviously we're looking at the ones that potentially would be appropriate so that we are ready for when those funding opportunities come forwards. The one I wanted to touch on this morning was Green Lanes, because we have been a lot more proactive with the Green Lanes potential project coming forwards, and really just to give some visibility and for yourself as members to be comfortable that we carry on with that project. Firstly, around upgrading the LED lighting within the centre at a potential cost of around £100,000, and also to look at putting PVs on the top deck of Green Lanes, with the benefits then potentially benefiting all of the retailers and the tenants within Green Lanes, because their current energy costs come through the service charge. The reason I wanted to bring it here is obviously it does have an initial upfront cost of around about 400,000 for both of those elements, 100,000 for the LED lighting and just over 300,000 for the PVs on the top deck. The benefit of that, though, is the savings that will be generated from being able to provide all of the energy then for the centre. Would see a reduction in lighting costs of around 32,000 for the LED lighting upgrade, and a further 37,000 for the benefit of having the PV. Overall, around about £70,000 worth of saving for the 400,000 investment. So it repays itself within about 6 years. If, however, we can tap into some external funding, that would reduce that cost for the council further. We have got capital budget available for that. When you'll recall, those members that were here when we bought Green Lanes, we left some money in the capital programme for further enhancement works at Green Lanes. Some of those works have been done. That was around the improvements to the flooring, and I think you'd agree that that looks magnificent now in terms of the upgraded flooring that we've put in. We've also carried out some remedial works for the roof, so that the level of leaking that we were getting is now hopefully being mitigated. And that has hopefully alleviated the need to do the significant capital works now for the roof that was originally planned when we bought the centre. We were talking about possibly having to invest upwards of £1 million to put a new roof on. Hopefully those works have reduced that need for the short term. That's not to say that may not be needed in the long term. But I wanted to give that visibility because you have got the capital programme to be able to proceed with that project at Green Lanes now. The wider benefits of that, as I say, would reduce the costs for the users of Green Lanes. That also includes us, because we have the hub and we're obviously responsible as landlord for some of those central costs as well. But more importantly, it benefits our retailers. It benefits the potential retailers who may come in or users of those units by benefiting the service charge cost for their energy consumption of the areas under their service charge. So it'd be really attractive in terms of being able to put that forwards, and it would mitigate us needing to put service charge up in the future because of the financial benefits it reduces. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that in terms of the potential funding opportunities that are available, which complements the motion that Councillor Massell has put forwards, but also for you to give a steer to officers that you're happy for us to continue with the project at Green Lanes to bring forward the LED upgrade lighting and also the fitting of PVs on the top deck. There is opportunity to also put PVs on the lower deck. That potentially would have impacts in terms of car park spaces, but it does have benefits in terms of providing an increased amount of savings and energy usage for the centre. It will provide more than what we need for the centre, but there are regulations coming in later that potentially may allow us to use that extra capacity to benefit energy consumption at some of our assets throughout the town centre as well. The steer from the team is that they would like to proceed with the top deck only at this stage, but again, that's something that we continue to work on. The reason I wanted to mention it was just to make sure that Chair, you and members are happy that we proceed with Green Lanes as that initial project for PVs.
Thank you, John. Councillor Walker.
Yeah, can I just say that our start to our solar projects that we've already put in at the crematorium is actually proving very, very good. It's we now use 45% of the energy that we have created that we normally use at the crematorium. I'm talking obviously electricity. Is now provided by our solar PVs, and that is the data from November till April. So if we're getting 45% of the energy usage at the crematorium from the winter, it just goes to show what the modern PVs are able to do. I fully support the putting PVs on the top of Green Lanes. I think it is absolutely the way to go. It will just make that area, the proposition of keeping the centre much more attractive, because it will lower the costs and it's environmentally friendly as well. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And with the GB Energy potentially providing grants to local authorities for more solar PV, I think that this is definitely the way that the authority should go. And if I can put in a proposal that we accept the report on putting in the LED lighting and solar panels at Green Lanes, with the top deck as suggested at the moment.
Councillor Lever and Councillor Ricky Knight.
I think Councillor Knight was first, probably.
Oh, is it Councillor Ricky Knight? Sorry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your comments, John, and yours with regard. I certainly second that emotion. I was pretty blindsided by this proposal from Councillor Maskell when it came to full council some time ago. It was deferred, split in half, and deferred to scrutiny, and that's why it comes back here now. I note that it's also on the agenda on Friday for the JPPC meeting, which I wasn't expecting, but there again I shall go along and see how that fares. The reason I was blindsided is because I had comments to make about it in the version I'd read, not the one that eventually ended up in full council. To me, it's first and foremost, might I say that Mark and Donna and the CAT team have received lots and lots of, we have passed on lots and lots of information to this group about the incremental steps we're making to address our carbon footprint on all our buildings, not just Green Lanes, obviously, but the bus station, the crematorium, and Pioneer Market, etc. So it's, in a sense, it's a no-brainer that we endorse the fact that there are huge opportunities to improve our energy efficiency nationally, locally, and as a council in terms of buildings we own anyway. It frustrates just about everybody that warehouses, etc., and schools, etc., leisure centres aren't festooned. The hospital being another example, aren't festooned with solar panels because the economic benefit is undeniable. What concerned me originally was the reference to the food security, and I made the point then, and I'll make it again, that it's the energy crisis which is the real crisis. And anyone who's watched the PEB, the People's Emergency Briefing, will know that the energy crisis informed just about every other crisis, and we've got multiple in the UK and all over the world, as we know. Solar farms are not the problem here. I am absolutely convinced that they're not festooning. Oh, okay, we need to stop them being progressed on farmland, on good grade farmland. That goes without saying, and that is one of the reasons why I suspect it goes to planning as well, effects planning, I mean. But there's lots of scientific proof that what happens underneath solar panels, they can be grazed, and they are microcosmic. They are wonderful biodiverse environments under those panels. It's again scientifically proven. That is not the problem in the UK, solar farms affecting the food crisis, not at all. It's the energy crisis. It's climate change that's affecting the food crisis. And as such, I'd rather hone in on that than say, and apart from which, brownfield sites, it might not relevant to today's motion, it's true, but brownfield sites, I can't imagine very many developers going for a solar panel on a solar farm, if you want to call it a farm development on a brownfield site. Those size brownfield sites do not actually exist, certainly not locally. But all in all, absolutely support Prue's references to where we could do better, and we want to do better, as Mr. John Triggs has just proven. And I completely support any efforts made by this council to address that.
Although you did say incremental steps, I think they're pretty fundamental ones. Some of the things that have taken, to be honest.
After the other minutes, yes.
Yeah, and I think we should be lauding the fact that the work we've done and have done already, and progressing to do more. I'm certainly not in the reform camp on this, that we should ditch all this green zero climate change stuff. Let's put it out there. This is what we are doing because we are facing a climate emergency. And we will see that more and more with the weather, and those people who are against it hopefully will come round and see this might be incremental, might be small steps, but some of them are pretty big steps as well. And we're going to continue with it. And we can't certainly go back, and we don't give in to those people who are demanding we stop all net zero policies. It's fundamentally wrong. And this motion is a step in the right direction as well. So I support it. Councillor Lever?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I got nothing to disagree with really in the wording of the motion as it appears in our agenda. It sounds as though we are already working to encourage use of existing infrastructure for solar PV development, and it sounds as though the government are already developing policies to promote the use of existing buildings through things like the Great British Power Plan and what have you. I mean, like Councillor Knight, I think bringing food security into this is a bit of a red herring. Let's not forget that that where there are solar farms on existing farmland, I mean, those are not plans that are brought forward by this council or by the government. They're plans that are brought forward by landowners and farmers who are suffering real economic hardship in a lot of cases in northern Devon, and the ability to put over part of your farm to solar PV is a way of making the economic stack up for a lot of farmlands. That sort of diversification. I mean, recent events have shown how susceptible we are as a country to things that are completely outside of our control, affecting energy costs, and have a real impact on the cost of living for people and on the cost of running businesses in this country. And you know, we because of climate change, our farmers are suffering economically, and we do face a food crisis in this country. And I think, I mean, it's not for this committee, but I think nationally we need to look at our diet and our food production and try and find more efficient ways of feeding ourselves. I mean, certainly in this part of the country, meat production is the thing that's made this landscape, and I think we as a council would like to see that continue. But there's no doubt that it's not the most efficient way of feeding people. Thanks.
True, we'll come back to you, but there's a couple of members want to speak, but I think we've got to be mindful of this motion. It doesn't actually refer to it's not an either or food production or using fields or putting it on. It doesn't refer to that. It might do in the initial stages, but it doesn't anymore. Councillor Bell and then Councillor Petrinos.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Knight will be pleased to know that the hospital is festooned with solar panels. If you do want to come up to intensive care, you can see them out the window.
That's a nice offer, isn't it?
Don't make a trip on my behalf. Councillor Lever's very wisely pointed out a couple of things about food security. The other thing is, of course, the farming industry is a key user of electricity. Solar farms on farms power farms, which is not always the most best way of doing it. I would much rather they went onto commercial buildings, but in the meantime, solar farms, power farms. But what I wanted to raise, more importantly, excellent work on Green Lanes, and I really recognise what Councillor Mascal said about being proactive in this thing. One thing that other proactive councils have done in Winchester and in Hammersmith, they are working with Octopus Energy, who are a provider of one of the solar farms in Braunton. They are working with Octopus Energy, and they are putting solar panels on more and more social housing, using the money generated into the council for that, which is cutting down bills for people in social housing. It is also, the money is being redirected back into providing more solar panels on more social housing, so there's a rolling project that is really beneficial. I truly recognise that North Devon Council doesn't have the money of Winchester City, which is a shame because we're a much nicer place. I've been to Winchester, but I think that would be something that I would like to suggest that this committee might want to ask officers to look into, to come back to in the future, whether we could achieve something like that, or whether we should at least make that an ambition that we would like to achieve under whatever authority follows this fine authority. Thank you.
I think it's something that perhaps Councillor Ricky Knight's subcommittee could look at there. Councillor Petrinos.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I don't see any problem with the motion that's on the agenda. It doesn't mention food. It's quite, bland, really. Happy to support it. The Green Lanes project, I think, unless I missed it, that Councillor Walker proposed that we do it. Can we actually do that? It's not the agenda.
No, I'm going to say that we'll stick to this motion and come back to that.
Okay.
Councillor Crabb.
Yeah, I think reading the motion as I have, and I've also been sent a letter on here and all sorts, I've been trying to read all this. So one of the things to me that jumps out that we can do, I mean, regarding the planning side of things, is Prue specifically mentions, I think it's some sort of energy company. We can't pick an energy company and say, let's go with that. But as part of the management of our local area, whether that be through the planning process or through other things, we could surely put some sort of package together to make things easier. Now, if you remember Sally Nelson that used to do a fair bit with this council, she was always banging on about risk management. You've got to do stuff that reduces the risk of anything. So anyone that was thinking about spending capital money on PV, no, there's a process that's got to go through. And I would say that as the LPA, there must be something that we could do that we can look at making that whole process easier, so that capital is less at risk if you go down that road. And I appreciate that's a conversation for Friday, but I think that's one of the things that you could come out of a motion like this, is that more high, whether you put things on Green Lanes, cracking idea, yeah, go for it. But that's like down there, I think we should be looking up here somewhere, if that makes sense.
Again, I think that's something that perhaps Councillor Ricky Knight's subcommittee could look into. I'm going to move this on. Councillor Maskell, do you want to come back before we move to a vote on this?
Yeah, thank you. I think yeah, Councillor Crabb just sort of raised a point that I was thinking. So I when I came up with this motion, it wasn't to undermine anything that's already being done or looked at by the council. I think, obviously a lot of work is going into this already. I think it was just to try and, as an authority, also encourage more businesses locally to look at doing the same. And if we can find a way of creating a policy or putting together some sort of package which makes it easier for people to access information, to know where they stand if they want to put, solar panels on their roofs or carport, etc. But also maybe, creating some sort of a database of these companies which will fully fund these projects for you, because I was quite surprised to find that there are companies who will do the entire thing for you. They will cover your building with your car park in solar panels with no outlay to you. It's just a commitment to use that energy. And there's even some financial benefit to you being able to sell energy if you have EV car chargers, etc., as the hospice have done. I just feel like perhaps we could put together that sort of information for businesses to just try and encourage more of it to happen, because as Councillor Knight said, it is quite frustrating to see acres and acres of rooftops which are crying out for this kind of project, and if we could as an authority get something out there to say we are encouraging this, we are supporting this, come and talk to us, I think that would be a really positive thing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. Bring in Ken and then we'll move to a vote, I think, on this.
Thanks, Chair. As the debate has gone on, just got a little bit more concerned about what we as officers will be expected to do as a result of the motion. coming into this meeting today, I had thought that the intention of the motion was to encourage the type of partnerships that John's outlined in relation to green lanes. So those partnerships between the public authority, i.e. the council, and the private sector, i.e. Praxis, and the potential contractors that we would be using. And that, if you like, is within our gift. That's what we, that fits with the priorities, and that's what we would be doing anyway. If we're now talking about something over and above that, whereby we're setting up a database of companies that might help people actively looking to encourage or introduce other policies, etc., then I think we need to nail that down a bit more clearly, because we as officers will be expected to deliver that. So what I suggest is, if members are in favour of the motion generally, that the detail of that be worked out through the climate action team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you want to come back, Helen?
Yeah, I wonder if it's something that we could actually do through One Northern Devon. Ask One Northern Devon if it's something that they would be able to look at, because they work with businesses all the time.
Are you talking North Devon Plus or One Northern Devon?
Plus, yes,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
Well,
Brain's not working.
361 Energy are the logical people to do that.
Yeah.
They already exist.
I think I know he suggested this goes through Councillor Knight's committee and look at alternatives. And
Yeah,
I
because
think we've got the motion in front of us. What comes afterwards? I don't think there's any reason why we can't just move to a vote now on this motion. Is that okay? Yeah. John, finally.
Thanks, Jake. Just come back on Councillor Petrunas' point on procedure, because obviously Councillor Walker put a motion around. There's nothing to approve on green lanes. It was more like a steer I was anticipating. You've already got capital programme in place. It's just to make sure members have got on that, so there's nothing.
Is there anybody here uncomfortable with that?
Seemed a trifle strange, that's all. But if I'm reassured by the officers that we can just knock out 400 grand on a whim, then that's fine.
It's not.
Just to reassure members, Chair, the capital programme is already in place because members approved that.
I'm conscious that there's nothing on it. I'm not against it. I mean, I think it's a good idea. Your figures are brilliant, but there's nothing there that says at all.
the only reason it's mentioned today is because it's an example of the public-private partnership that's raised by the motion. And it was to.
It doesn't need a motion.
It doesn't need a motion though, because you've already approved that capital programme for improvements to green lanes. So
Really good information now. Okay. Let's move to the motion. Can Councillor Maskell pause it online? Or does it need to be?
Yes, please.
Councillor Clapp will propose it. I don't think you can, Councillor Maskell, because you're not here, unfortunately.
Okay.
Sorry. And Councillor Walker will second it. All those in favour of the motion? That's unanimous. That's unanimous, Councillor Maskell. Sorry, I wasn't being funny there. I just think constitutionally you can propose it.
No, that's absolutely fine. Thank you.
And I'm sure the committee will send our best favours, our best wishes to your cousin as well. I hope everything goes all right.
Thank you very much.
Right, moving on. Annual performance reports. Adam, it's you. Thank you.
Chair, this is our second annual performance report, which aims to provide that high-level summary of our achievements of the last year. Really pleasing to be able to show such strong performance across all of our corporate priorities. The report has been through our Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee on the 4th of June. You'll note on your agenda there is a supplementary item which takes on board their feedback. It now has a forward from the leader and chief executive. We've also added details in there around the community lottery scheme which we operate, and that has now helped to raise over 80,000 for good causes in the local area. I'd like to refer members to the recommendations 2.1 and 2.2. Happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you very much to you and the team. I think what we've got here is clear, it's concise, it's precise on exactly what we are doing as a council, our 5 key objectives, and there's backup evidence there to say how well we are doing. Again, all those things that we should applaud and we should laud, and well done. Councillor David Knight.
Yes, Chair. Yes, again, I'd like to second what Councillor Clayton has just said. It's very clear and concise, very colourful, all put together. But I noticed on page 22 we talk about waste and recycling. It was just to question. We have the new lead member, and I believe we were supposed to be having more meetings. Working group meetings, and I just haven't heard anything about that. So perhaps we could just find out what's happened about the working group. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm not absolutely certain myself what's happening with that. I don't know if any officers know. It was servicing it.
Martin Glyn.
Glenn's still servicing it.
Yes.
I don't think we've had the minutes from the last meeting.
Not happening.
We'll see Glenn and see what, and there might have been a glitch because of the switchover in lead members, but it shouldn't be, because this is, as we've already said previously, one of our most important subcommittees, working groups. And so far, I think it's been very effective and very good, and that we've managed to get quite a lot of information and quite a lot done, I think, as well. So I certainly don't want to see that all by the wayside. There's no reason for it. It's probably a glitch, but we'll find out for you, Councillor Nye. Any other comments, Councillor Lever?
Yeah, just on page 23 of the main agenda, obviously it talks about the peer review, and just to draw members' attention to the fact that the result of that was that this is a well-led council, and who manage our finances effectively, and I think that's the message that we need to keep getting out there to people. If there's nothing else, I mean, I'd like to move this for approval publication.
Any other comments before we go to recommendations? Recommendation.
So can I second it? I'll just ask Adam to look at the bottom of the page, about page 22, where it says the very last paragraph. When it comes to non-major developments, we're processing 97.5% of applications on time compared to 88.3, 88.7%. Doesn't mean anything. Because it says compared to, so it needs something else to justify what the 88.7% refers to.
Is it what was previous, or is it just general authority similar to ours?
I think it's a reference to the previous paragraph, where it says we process 96.6% planning applications for major developments on time, compared to an average of 89.9% in our nearest neighbourhood group. And then when it comes to when it comes to non-major developments, we are processing 97.5% compared to 88.7%. So it's of that neighbouring group.
Yeah, same group or something.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different paragraph, so it doesn't, so grammatically, it would mean it'd be something else, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Just add in.
I'm just saying, I just
Yeah,
make it clear, it doesn't, you read it through and think, well, hang on, yeah. It's only a little bit.
Okay.
I'll second it with.
All those in favour of the recommendation?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Councillor Ricky, are you in
Sorry.
favour? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's unanimous. Thank you, Adam. Onto the short report next, aren't we?
Mine be quite so speedy.
Is this you again, Adam, or is neither joining you?
I do it one myself and me. Yeah. Okay, given so
Yeah, you summarise this one.
Let's read it.
Given it's 25 years since we've made a provision of social housing, we need to ensure that the operating model and governance arrangements are in place to comply with the statutory and regulatory requirements now placed upon us. To support this process, we commissioned our consultancy to undertake an assurance reviews on these arrangements. They agreed with our approach to appoint a management agent, and they set out their essential policies and procedures that we need to have in place before we go live. Their full report is available for you in Appendix H. Over the last few months, we've been working closely with North Devon Homes to provide that housing management services for the LARP. North Devon Homes are a well-established local provider and trusted partner with strong regulatory gradings. Appendix A sets out the proposed service specification with North Devon Homes. As part of that specification, we aim to align with their standards and ways of working where appropriate, and as such, we are looking to adopt a number of their operational policies and strategies as set out in Appendix C. These will sit alongside some specific council policies, and initially we've created a rent setting policy and a tenant management policy, and they're in Appendix D. Given that our statutory accountabilities can't be delegated, we have a draft performance management framework in Appendix B, and that's to seek assurance that we are meeting the obligations, and this will take place alongside other internal checks. It's proposed that that performance framework will be monitored quarterly by the partnership meetings that already take place for North Devon Homes, and will then feed in through our normal quarterly performance reporting. We've also established a decision-making and governance framework, which sets out the roles of this committee, scrutiny and policy development, and governance committee in relation to the LARP, and that's in Appendix G. There will be additional staffing resources to support the LARP, and these are set out for you in paragraphs 5.1. Whilst the council has the staff to undertake these roles, we will need to assess whether these tasks can be undertaken alongside their current roles. We will also have to look at member training to ensure that the LARP is operating effectively with appropriate oversight. Financial modelling has been set out for you in paragraphs 5.5 to 5.8. I would like to refer members to the recommendation in the report to approve in principle the documents that I've referenced. We would also like to propose to members that we add in a new report, a new 2.2, to waive contract procedure rules to formally appoint North Devon Homes as the management agent for the LARP. Positive discussions are still going on with North Devon Homes, who will be taking the report to their board in July for signing. We are therefore seeking delegated powers to be able to reflect these discussions, agree the management agreement, update the policies where necessary, and set the year one rents so that we're ready to make our provision of social housing. Happy to take any questions, or it might be a joint effort.
Sorry, on the recommendation, did you just say you changed?
We are looking to add, so the reports that are there, but we're looking to add one more to specifically waive contract procedure rules to appoint North Devon Houses.
Yeah, that's the changes.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Any questions on this short report? Councillor Graham.
Councillor Maskell's back there. There was apparently Councillor Maskell and Councillor Maddox do have a certain amount of scepticism over the glowing homework report. This is based on their performance in Braunton, where they've either demolished or sold most of their fleet, or a great deal, not most of their fleet, a significant amount of their fleet. There are other items on the agenda which I think are loosely connected as well, and so she is a little bit worried. I think, have we looked at other registered providers in terms of creating a partnership? That's question number one, which is quite a complicated question, I appreciate. The other one I would ask is on paragraph 4.1 on page 42. It briefly skirts over allocations of the properties. What will we intend, and it might be on page 123, and if it is, I do apologize. But do we have an additional anything that, like, are we going to be very specific? You know, you must live in Barnstaple or something like that, or are we just going with the North Devon owned genuine general sort of Devon choice? Anyone can have a go.
Two questions there. Adam, Nina.
So I think in relation to North Devon Homes, and this is it, we're already in a trusted partner relationship with them. We've got strategic board meetings. We did LSVT all of our stock to them, so we're still intrinsically linked to them in terms of their right to buy, etc. And our relationships are there. I think had LGR not been upcoming, then we may have looked further, but also that would have been a really timely exercise. There is a break clause in the management agreement. And we've also talked about if we amplify the number of units we've got moving forward, this could be something that we would reconsider looking at the model. But I think at the moment they've got really good reputation, taking aside the comments about particular plots with the regulator of social housing. They've got a really good standing, and we would not have had the capacity or the capability. I certainly wouldn't have to put a suite of policies in place in that regard in that length of time. We had the housing strategy approved last May, so this has come around quite quickly. We took advantage of the CCA funding for the healthy homes initially in Ilfracombe, plus then we had LGR put into them. So I feel really confident actually starting off on this brand new target operating model. They are the right partner for this initial tranche. And I think I've got to say, in relation to North Devon Homes, they've been exceptionally helpful and willing. They're not really going to take any money from this. They have been gone above and beyond to get us to this position, allowing us to step back into that arena.
There's a second question, I think, as well, Nina.
That was about the allocations. Yeah, so we've talked a lot with members of our housing team about what those allocations might look like. Could we go down just a Barnstable route? But I think it's what we've got to be looking at is we said that we were going to be a trusted landlord, and I think we need to adhere to those policies that are adopted widely across North Devon already for the other RPs. And I think it wouldn't look potentially correct if we started to say this is just for Barnstable or and also we've got the Renters' Rights Act, which are now ensuring that tenants coming forward that we're not discriminating anybody. So we've had lots of internal conversations, but there will be local it will be North Devon residents who will benefit from the properties.
Very, very quickly come back on that. And the reason I asked that specific question is that as we, so know, there's the issue in Ilfracombe, and I'm sure in Barnstable as well, where the driving force for this originally was people that live in absolutely appalling locations in absolutely appalling landlords. So it's the idea of the Ilfracombe scheme was to sort of like try and shunt those people out into decent homes. But how will your allocation process pick that up if someone from?
So the local lettings policy for Ilfracombe is slightly different. Apologies, I was focusing on the first tranche, which is Barnstable, which will go wider. But with Ilfracombe, it will be the first tranche allocated local lettings policy to Ilfracombe.
There we are, see. Lovely, thank you.
So Eva.
Yeah, I've got 3 questions as well. I mean, I think it's generally sound, and it's a really positive way forward. It's a really good step for this council, I think, to enter into this relationship to manage these properties coming forward. But there's a few just questions on the detail. On the contract with North Devon Homes, I couldn't find a mention of what the term of the contract is, and there are key performance indicators, but I don't. And I know that there'll be these monitoring meetings, but I don't see anywhere any any contractual obligation on North Devon Homes to fulfil those KPIs, or what happens if they don't fulfil them. That's the first question. The second one is a really general one, because there's 350 pages of North Devon Homes policies in there. And I'm just, as members, I'm just seeking your reassurance that those North Devon Homes policies align with our own policies and constitution. And I noticed that ARK, who did that really helpful sort of summary report, they specifically didn't go through those policies. So I think we could do with some reassurance that we're not letting ourselves into something that doesn't align with our other policies and strategies. And the third one is on page 356. And I'll spare his blushes because he's there at the back. But there seems to be quite a strong role for the lead member for housing in terms of pretty much scrutiny and oversight of this. And I'm just wondering what support will be available to the lead member to ensure that they're able to fulfill that role properly, and how that scrutiny and oversight is reported back to either this committee or full council.
Do you want to? I don't know how many other questions are going to be, but do you want to come to the bit over here now? Graham, do you want? I'll come back. You might want to say a few things, Graham.
Thank you, Chair. Just sort of covering the first and the third question. First of all, you'll note in the report that one of the roles and responsibilities is to have an SRO in place. I think that will come down to me as head of housing. So it will be my job to make sure that those performance indicators are adhered to, that we're monitoring them closely like we do the whole suite of other indicators that we've got under the performance management framework. I attend those strategic meetings as well. So I'll be the conduit between North Devon Homes and have that direct relationship. And picking up on the third point about the responsibilities for the lead for housing, we've already got a trusted relationship here, regular updates. So I imagine that, well, I don't imagine, I will be helping the lead member for housing through this process, making sure that those roles and responsibilities are adhered to and that we understand what this looks like in reality.
I mean, I think, I mean, I understand about the performance management, but it's just, I didn't see anything in here about the terms of this contract or what penalties there'd be.
I was going to let them come in on the legality side of it.
Yeah, because obviously the service spec that we've got in front of you today, that's just to give the flavour of the service. You'll see on one of the recommendations we're asking for delegated powers, there will be a management agreement that sits behind that. We're still in discussions with North Devon Homes on that, still in that very draft stage. So I didn't really want to necessarily put it on the agenda today, but you're right, that's where we will enforce this spec. So that is the plan. Touched on the policies in there, and there are a substantial number of North Devon Home policies, you're right. And again, as you'll see in the spec, what we're asking them to do in many ways is to deliver the housing services in line with their existing policies. One thing we do need to go through and do that again, and it is touched on in the report, is to create an addendum. So it'll be, here's the list of the policies, but there will be certain occasions, for example, their income collection policy, where some of those decisions will be made by the SRO under delegated powers. So we will need to identify that actually there will be occasions where those decisions will be made by the council and not them. So again, that is something that we will pick up on before we go live with that process.
Okay.
And I think in relation to the policies as well, because the number of properties that we're bringing forward in relation to their portfolio is quite small. So we really needed to make sure we could align with those as best as possible. So when their teams were going out to do the maintenance, etc., they didn't suddenly have to have a whole different set of rules to go into those properties. And because the properties that we're providing are either new or newly converted, the condition of that stock is really going to be excellent. That's what we've strive for moving forward, to be going back into this landlord status. So I think the first few years, whilst we're learning all of that, I don't have any reservations because of the quality of the stock's going to be so good.
One of your points again was on the performance and the role of the lead member, but the governance framework does set out that performance will come through this committee and go through the scrutiny committee. And the governance committee will take on responsibilities around risk management and all. So there is a shared governance arrangement to make sure that.
Okay. I'm bringing John and Councillor Walker. Oh, sorry.
All right, I'll come back on a couple of those points that Councillor Levy's already raised, but okay. And also, I just wanted to address the Mariners question because that has come up in relation to how North Devon Homes operate. Mariners is a very sad case, but of course we don't want to have 30 people living in an asbestos-ridden dump. You know, a lot of the policies that are within this that we're talking about today, Mariners did not meet, and that's a real shame that had to close. It was then a real shame we had COVID, and we then had Liz Truss's budget. But we cannot stop where we are. North Devon Homes have worked very hard, and I say that as someone who walks past Mariners every day. It is a little bit unfair of people to point fingers at them. And there's one very unfortunate failing, but there has been nothing they could have done differently in this case. World Events have simply got beyond them on it, and we can only wish that they are making progress and they will continue to make progress. Just to come back to the question about whether these align with what we say, I've read all of these policies. I've read most of them before. As Nina says, with regard to damp houses and ineffective houses, we hope that won't be coming into line here. There are odd problems with it, such as it refers to Section 21 evictions. That simply doesn't apply here. There is one point that has a slightly 20th century terminology when it comes to same-sex relationships. These are just the same policies they use everywhere. These things simply haven't been updated. There's no fundamental problems with these policies, I don't think, in my semi-professional position. With regard to the lead member's role, I'd be very happy to defer to the leader and the deputy leader on those matters if that was seen to be the way the council wanted to move. It isn't. Yes, the role, as I've said repeatedly, the role of the councillor is to take the blame, not the credit. In this case, Adam have done so much incredible work. The entire team of officers have done such incredible work. We're just here, I will oversee and I will make sure those things are being done properly, as I always do. I scrutinise the big decisions, I scrutinise the small decisions. As a rule, the housing department simply works in a way that we would all want it to work and to a very professional level. So I'm happy with the way it works, and I don't think it adds any more to my role than the school transport committee that I also sit on. It is a very important thing. I think it's really, really good that we're bringing it forward today. Was there anything else I had to answer to?
No, you covered that. It's Councillor Walker first, then John, sorry.
Yeah, just a point of clarification, please. There's a policy recommendation 2.2.6 is to note that the right to buy policy and compensation policy will follow. I'm assuming that's the policy that outlines that there will be no right to buy on the units that we own.
I don't believe that's the case. I think all RPs have to have a right to buy policy. Bearing in mind that we will be drawing down funding, hopefully for the second tranche as well, that does make it more difficult for people to potentially buy it, because you've got the ceiling costs of doing the property and also the funding that's linked to it. But I can't categorically say that there'll be no right to buy on these properties moving forward.
Well, it's changed nationally now, hasn't it? So it's not as
Not been changed yet, Chair, but it is about to be changed, I think, isn't it? And that the announcement has come, but not the legislation.
What we're saying, Chair, is that these properties will be subject to the same rules and rights to buy as other RPs. Usually we're saying that it might be less attractive for tenants to purchase these properties because of the ceiling costs, etc. But they will still be subject to those rules. Yeah. And that's what you get with social housing.
I think they'll be less affordable than perhaps the traditional stock and purchase have been in previous years.
John, sorry, I've got you from coming in.
Just to add in terms of that, the policies and the governance in place, I think what gave us assurance over the policies that are in place is that the regulator gave the highest rating on governance with North Devon Homes recently. So in terms of going into that management and partnership with them, they've had that highest rating of governance, which gives us assurance over the policies and the way that they do manage the properties. If we deviated too much from that, that would obviously be more complications for the operator and their staff in terms of managing those properties, and would probably attract a much higher management fee, which then will obviously affect the viability in terms of the proposal that's obviously outlined in the financial implications. So aligning with the policies that are in place and the fact they had the highest rating from the regulator on governance gave us the assurance that it's the right thing to do. Just on the other point that was mentioned on a site in Braunton, the key thing over this is we will actually own these assets. So they're our assets still, even though we've got a managing agent in to actually manage them for us. Decisions around what we do with those assets retains with the council, so they are our assets ongoing. So just to give them that clarity.
Any other questions, comments? I mean, I think it's a very long report. Thank you for all the work that's been done by yourself, Adam, by Nina, and by Councillor Bell. I think the one big thing that stands out, or should stand out from this, is that we, again, are a provider of social housing, and that's got to be a massive positive. And although you look at the report and there's so much there, that's the big thing that we've got to take from this. And yes, it's small steps. It's not, we're not providing North Devon with a massive council estate, but we are making steps to try and do something about the housing crisis that still exists in North Devon, which is sometimes some people in their own houses forget what it's like not to have that possibility. Councillor Bell, do you want to finish?
Thank you to the council and the Russians.
There's something going on that we don't know about. They'll have been struck today.
I just want to say this was something that we came in to do as part of this administration, and it has been done. So thank you very much.
Recommendations there are take them all on block, and we yes with Adam
The extra.
with the extra. Just repeat again what that is.
It's the way contract procedure rules to formally appoint North Devon Homes as the management agency.
Are we all clear on that? Yeah, all those in favour of the recommendations? Yeah, thank you. Anybody against? You need a proposer and a seconder for that. Yeah. If someone proposes. Councillor Lever, Councillor Walker, seconded. Item 9. Healthy Halls project. I think Sarah Jane is going to.
Yeah, as you say, this item is around the Ilfracombe Healthy Homes project. In 2024, as members are aware, we secured 1.98 million from government for the Ilfracombe Healthy Homes project. And I know you're aware of its objectives, but it's intervening in the Ilfracombe local housing market to improve housing standards of existing low quality homes to improve the overall living conditions and positively impact on the wider health determinants of the residents. In terms of progress, we have purchased 36 and 38 Oxford Grove and the old Royal Mail building at 3738 High Street in Ilfracombe. We've secured planning permission to convert 36 and 38 Oxford Grove into 6 one-bed units of accommodation, and similarly secured planning permission at the Royal Mail building to convert the upper floors to 5 one-bed units and 3 two-bed units of accommodation. We're currently in a live procurement process to secure a contractor for the work for 36, 38 Oxford Grove, and hope to be in the same position on the Royal Mail building very soon. The project will deliver decent homes. Each will have an upgraded external envelope with improved insulation, new double glazed windows, new energy efficient LED lighting. Gas central heating will be decommissioned, replaced with an electric system. We will be placing solar panels on the roofs of all 3 buildings. The refurbishments have also been planned with end users in mind. So we've been working really closely with Property Truth Commission and the community commissioners of there to understand from those with lived experience of poverty what a decent home means to them, and we've incorporated as many of their suggestions as possible into the schemes. I then set out the finances for you members, but the acquisition of the 3 properties has obviously expended an amount of the grant. We've also procured some professional services to support the scheme. The cost estimate for the works to Oxford Grove is coming in at 850,000. That's the pre-tender estimate from our quantity surveyor. After that, that expends the grant. The procurement timetable for the Royal Mail building is slightly behind Oxford Grove because of the additional complexities with that building. We hope to be procuring a contractor in July with start on site in September. The anticipated construction costs of the works to the Royal Mail building are just over 1.2 million. That's set out at paragraph 4.8 of the report. And in order for us to be able to enter into our construction contract on the Royal Mail building, the council would need to borrow just short of that, so 1.259 million. In the tables on your report at 4.9, you can see what the rental income looks like. Just to remind members, this would all be social rented units of accommodation. And once we've taken into account the borrowing costs and the management fee that we would be paying to North Devon Homes, as has just been agreed, then the net revenue budget cost to us would be £17,000 a year. It is considered that we could accommodate that £17,000 from our existing revenue budget. What we hope to be able to do now that we are a local authority registered provider is to apply to Homes England for the grant fund this gap. We invited Homes England down to the units and they came to have a look at them in May. They spoke very highly about the units and they've given me no reason to suggest that there wouldn't be grant available to support these units of accommodation. But what I can't do until that application has been granted is to confirm exactly what that looks like. At 4.11, I provided you with the grant per unit that we've received at Backport Street to give you an indication that on that basis that would cover the borrowing that we are requesting members to approve today. Any level of grant, of course, would improve the budget position that we've set out in paragraph 4.9 of the report. Should they not be available from Homes England, then we also have the value of the assets themselves, which we hope will continue to appreciate. And notwithstanding that, the Healthy Homes project will secure 14 social rented units in the heart of Ilfracombe, where I know, but deprivation levels are at the highest in the county. We really do want to be intervening in this space. So on that basis, we are recommending that members do agree to borrow that 1.259 million and to recommend that we vary the capital programme by the same. I just also wanted to point out at 4.15 of the report that we have also had an offer accepted on 37 Oxford Grove, so the unit that sits in the middle of 36 and 38. It's currently proposed to use funds from the temporary accommodation budget to purchase those, a decision that members have already made. However, if we do obtain Homes England grant for that scheme also, then we would bring that into the Healthy Homes project. And in that scenario, officers would be seeking to further amend the capital programme by a further £375,000, which includes the works to that building, I should say. And we would do that via the quarterly performance and financial management reports in the future. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sarah Jo. Councillor Crabb.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank Sarah and the team for all the work that's gone into this. And if anyone's been following this, you'll know that this comes, I don't know, at the back of probably 3 or 4 years' work at the IRB and one thing or other. So you've got all this to come. You'll be enjoying this in future. Yeah, it's a shame that, I mean, you know that when I stand up here, I normally don't propose throwing money about, but in this particular case, I've already improved this conversation with everybody. There are issues in Ilfracombe which this is directly head on, designed to address. So, I fully support this, and I would be happy to propose.
Yeah, I mean, I fully support it as well, obviously, and more than happy to second it. It's a real progressive step forward for Ilfracombe. Long way to go still, but it's a start.
You would question, Councillor Prowse?
Yeah, I just think, I'm pleased to hear what Councillor Crabb said, because we often get accused of only worrying about funding. But we put a huge amount of commitment into Ilfracombe recently, and I think this is bearing the fruits of it. And I was interested to hear SJ say that the revenue budget could deal with a certain amount of figure that may get quoted getting wrong.
No, you're absolutely right, Councillor Barrows and Councillor Crabb. Again, it's one of those things that we should laud, and we should say what we are doing and shout it from the rooftop, because yes, it's not a revolution in social housing in Ilfracombe, but it's a massive step forward. For, as it says in 4.14, is it? Healthy Homes project will secure 14 social rent units. I think most of those are at one person units. in the heart of Ilfracombe, where deprivation levels are the highest in the county. And they are, and we're doing something about it. And we, you know, one of the first things I remember when I first became leader, you know, what you're doing about Ilfracombe, never do anything in Ilfracombe. Well, we are doing things in Ilfracombe. We should be keen to tell people. Councillor Cramp.
Very, very quickly, Chair. The one tiny little tweak in this that sticks in my mind still, and it's work still to be done, that's all, is the fact that a lot of this came out originally 3, 4, 5 years ago, whatever, on the result of some work that One Ilfracombe were doing, and they discovered a single mother whose only possession was a mattress. That woman won't be directly affected by this. You know, that house with its broken windows and all the rest of it will still be run by an appalling landlord, and that's part. And I think, you know, obviously Nina's working on other things. So this is a two-phase process. This is one half of it, but we've got to deal with that. I mean, I'm sure that lady is no longer living with just a mattress, but there will be people that are.
So can I just pick up the other point that you made about single people? I think for years and years we've just assumed that our priority should be family units to be built or acquired. And it's interesting when you look at the homeless figures, how many people are single, you know, and you look around the towns and you see those people, and we have to intervene not only with family homes, but like this with 1-bedroom stuff for single people. And it's equally true in the rural areas too. We forget that it is a problem too. It's
Just to
speak up against the jet engine.
The whole ethos behind the Healthy Homes project was around this being the start, because obviously the aim was that we would recycle funds from these projects to the next ones, as you alluded to continue that work. Obviously, at the moment, this is a sort of worst case scenario, i.e. we get no capital funding, therefore it will cost the council some amount of money. The aim is that obviously we attract the housing funding that Sarah Jane has alluded to, as we have done at Belport Street. If that happens, that means there'll be minimal or less borrowing costs on this project. The net position, then we would aim to recycle back into those next projects. So continue that on to the next Healthy Homes project, just to remember in terms of that original business case.
Thank you. Councillor Bell, do you want to say anything about this as lead member? You don't have to.
Chair, no, I think Councillor Crabb and the other councillors said everything I want to say anyway. I won't take the time.
Okay, we'll stop there then. Thank you. Can we see recommendations? Councillor Crabb, I think, has proposed a recommendation. Councillor Wilkinson, second. All those in favour? Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah Jane and team for everything. Agenda item 10 is the work programme. Ken, I don't really want to say anything. If there's anything needs changing, is there anything to add, change, delete?
No, whether you want an update on the 13th of July for LGR, because potentially we should know the decision.
If we do know, then yes, obviously, I think we should have an update on it.
You're going to do a sweepstake when the World Cup's over on that one as well.
Australia final, yeah.
I thought it was a heat team.
Can I just say, between us, there was no fiddling up it. So,
got 80.
Don't you have a team that actually got beaten by Scotland at a World Cup? Yes, Lever.
Yeah, just on the work programme, one thing, I know we've had a bit of email to and fro about the council tax discount scheme for foster caring families. And I'm wondering if there's something on that might come in due course, because I know when it came to full council, we were too late to do any consultation on it.
This actually did come up at the district leaders, chief execs on Monday, was it? Last week?
Which meeting it was, but yeah, we discussed it amongst the leaders and chief execs. And the suggestion was that we would ask the revenues and benefits officers group to crunch some numbers and then bring that back to that group with the intention being to try and implement the county-wide scheme rather than just district-wide. So I don't think it'll be back. I mean, once it's gone through, once there's an agreement, if there is an agreement to introduce it county-wide, then there'll be decisions to be made by us locally.
Okay. But that will be in time for any statutory consultation you need to.
That's the intention,
yeah.
Anybody else want to add anything to the work programme in the next few months? This is your chance to actually.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is that waste of recycling, obviously, it's going to be a huge amount of work to bring councils together and reflect on how we're going to move forward. And I know there's a soft plastics, there's a trial out. I don't know when that going to end, but perhaps there needs to be a report come back on how that's gone at some point. I don't know, but just to know where we're going to be with that, which meeting that's going to come up at, because obviously it's going to be very interesting on the collection of soft plastics and how that's happened, or whether people have taken it up. I don't know.
It's actually done September.
Oh, it's done.
Soft plastics collection.
Right. Okay.
So
hopefully there'll be some sort of report come back.
That's considered by the Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee on the 3rd of September and put towards on the 14th of September. So we can keep that serious. Councillor Walker.
Can I just say, I know it's only been running for a week or so, the soft plastics collection, but so far I'm really pleased with it because it's halved my black bin already, the amount of my black bin already, because most of what I throw out into the black bin has been soft plastics. So
this is the trial one.
Yeah, because we're in the trial area.
Where is the? I can't remember.
Well, it's where I live, so.
Various areas.
Yeah.
Maybe good for you, but maybe not so good for us.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
It's an interesting one.
if everybody else in the trial area is having the same effect on the amount of black bin waste that's going out, it's fantastic so far.
The issue is, well, we can go into it in September, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Councillor Maskell as well, Chair.
Councillor Maskell.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm also in the trial area, although I tend to take mine to the supermarket anyway. But what I would observe from the first couple of weeks is a lot of it is ending up blowing away. I think if we're going if and when we decide to do it, roll it out properly, might need some sort of container for it or separate bag for it, because I think you've said to put it inside the green bag at the moment, but yeah, I've ended up picking up quite a lot of it on my dog walks in mornings, so I think we will need to look at that. Thank you.
So the actual soft plastics is going in with the paper in the green. Is that correct?
In a separate bag.
In a separate bag.
In a separate bag, in a green bag, yeah.
You've been provided with a separate bag.
No, you put it in, basically, you stuff it into the biggest bit that you're putting it in and put it in the paper bag, in the green bag.
Clear to you when you. Yeah. Sarah, did you want to?
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is if there is a general issue with things being blown around, anyone can ask for a net that goes over the top of the cans and plastics box.
Yeah, this is something that the recycling group was asking about last time, actually, about the provision of the nets and how many we've still got and how it's going that. Can I just ask you, Sarah, since it's been introduced, this scheme in the Pal House, have you had any increase in number of calls to the call centre?
What about the plastics, you mean? Yeah, nothing. Yeah, no, it's gone really smoothly from what I can tell. Yes.
Councillor Petrinas?
Yeah, not necessarily about plastics, but about other recyclable stuff. I mean, I'm sure we're all the same, and we're getting complaints not necessarily about stuff being blown out of the boxes because they haven't got a net on, but stuff being blown out of the collection vehicle, particularly in rural areas where there's small collection vehicles. People are always moaning about me about the residue left. It'd be great to have a solution.
Yeah, to Mark Enter. I have noticed actually on the run up to here, Brinsworthy, it's I think it's a lot better. I thought you were going to say it's got worse. I think it's been a lot better because it used to be quite bad. And I don't know what they've done there, so maybe worth asking Mark Entel what maybe they're just sending more teams out to clear it up. I don't know, but there's definitely been an improvement in the run up to Brinsworth. Anything else going back to the work programme? Anything you want to add? No? Okay, can we the recommendation to note that?
That's just been noted, so.
Yeah, we'll just note that. Item item 11 is the exclusion of public and press. Can somebody move that, please? Councillor Petrino, seconded by Councillor Crab. Can we move to exclude the public and press and restriction documents? All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Does anybody want a 2 or 3 minute break, or are we okay to carry on?
Jack, you happy? Sarah Jane just wants to go and get Colette.
Sorry.
Sarah Jane just going to go and get Colette, our conservation.
Right, so we have a 5 minute break and come back. All right.